Hi, I'm Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Enlightened World Network. Welcome to this episode of Enlightened Women. Grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage and join us. Enlightened Women is a show about women who are consciously awake and choosing to fully embrace life. These are real women living real lives while walking in spirit. During this summit, we have spoken about bringing body, mind, and spirit into alignment to step further into our soul's calling. And for most of us, we get to go through our day without paying much attention to our body whatsoever. It's there for us, able to be ignored because all is well. But for some of us, illness or disease is demanding that we pay full attention to our body, at times to the dismissal of everything else. Our guests today are Camille DeSalme and Teri Angel. Both of these beautiful women have unexpectedly found themselves in the throes of dealing with cancer and all the treatments. They have added the role of not only cancer survivor, but co-creator with cancer to their life descriptions. It is my absolute honor and privilege to introduce you to Camille DeSalme and Teri Angel. Camille, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Ruth. I think you described me in more glowing terms than I think of myself.
How would you describe your life path before your cancer diagnosis?
I was the Energizer Bunny, grinding away at a couple of small businesses that are mine, and not realizing until the end of last year, pre-diagnosis, not in the end of last year, that they weren't paying off well enough financially, emotionally, spiritually for the time I was putting in. So I was not only busy with those, but I also was physically very active, and I would get out several days a week and go inline skating. And I loved it. I loved being outside. I loved the movement. It was so good for my body. It was so wonderful to be in sunlight. I used to live right by White Rock Lake, and I could skate to the lake. And it was a busy life. I was happy until I realized that all the time I spent at work just wasn't paying off.
Right. Teri Angel, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Ruth. This is an amazing privilege to be here with you.
Teri, how would you describe your life path? Who you were, who you thought you were before your cancer diagnosis?
Very interesting question, because I have been on a spiritual journey my whole life, actually. From the very beginning of my life, I've connected with angels. And so they've been a very prominent part of who I am and what I do. So before cancer, I call it BC, I was working diligently doing energy healing, doing a Facebook Live every day about happiness and lifting people up. I'm a happiness coach. So my life was really thriving, helping others and, bringing positive energy into the world. That was my life, BC. It's still, to the most extent, it is my life, but it was really a thriving journey where everything was working out the way I knew it was supposed to work out for me.
Camille, can you tell us about the time of diagnosis for you? When was it, and how did you find out?
I had apparently had cancer and a fractured left hemipelvis, which is kind of the large flattish bone at the back of the left part of the butt. So it's a hip bone. I apparently had that at the end of last year, 2018, without realizing it. And I went to a seminar in March of this year, 2019, limping. All I knew was that I was in pain, and I was walking with a cane and a limp, which was very different to me. I had been opposed to traditional medicine and had used a traditional medical doctor only once, probably in the past 20 years. And a wonderful man, Kieran Kirkendall, was there, and we got talking about what was going on with my body. And he said one sentence to just flip something in my brain. And he said, "I'm not opposed to traditional medicine. I'm in favor of you getting well." And something just switched in my brain. And I went and got an MRI and found a broken bone. And with the broken bone, they saw with that they saw something that looked very weird in my pelvic structure and did a bone biopsy on the left side of my hip and found cancerous tissue. So from there, we did a whole body scan and found a tumor in my right lung. And I'm a non-smoker. So this is a non-smoking lung cancer that metastasized to the hip. And the lung cancer was, I have a genetic mutation that predisposes non-smokers to lung cancer. That's how that came about. We found it because I had a break in my bone, first break I'd had. And so thank goodness for the break, because that's how we found the cancer.
Right. Teri, can you tell us about the time of diagnosis, when it was and how you found out?
Yeah, absolutely. It was earlier this year, toward the beginning of the year. I knew, and I intuitively knew something was wrong, but I also was getting some pain indication that something was wrong. So I actually found the lump on my breast. I found it myself. And then it was like, oh, here we go, because this is my second time of dealing with breast cancer in the same breast. So 6 years ago, I had a lumpectomy, and this time it just felt more extensive. The lump was bigger. It was like, okay, now I have to go through all of what I went through before, and I knew what was coming. That was the hardest part, I think, is knowing what was coming. So I had to start going for the mammograms, the MRIs, the ultrasounds, everything that's involved in figuring out just exactly what it is that's taking place inside the body. So it was a scary time, Ruth. It really was. The worst part is the waiting. So you go and you take a test and then you wait. It's not like you get an instantaneous, okay, this is what's going on. No, you have to wait those few days, or every how long it takes for the report to come back from the lab. And so it was an ongoing process from, I think I started that journey in early February, late January, early February, up until I got the final result from an MRI that, yes, it is invasive cancer and it has to be dealt with. But the emotions that you go through in that waiting period are off the charts. I can't even describe how hard that is.
So Teri, is it actually better to know or to be in that place of not knowing?
It's better to know. It really is, because our human brains jump to the worst possible condition that you have. It's like, okay, there is something there. I feel it. I know it. And what is it is the unknown. And we're so afraid of the unknown. We're so afraid of what might be or what might happen. And cancer is no longer the death sentence that it used to be, because there's ways now to treat, but it's still scary as hell. You still don't want to have to go through all you have to go through to process what's happening and then to take care of it.
So your life was just completely rerouted for you.
It came to a screeching halt. It really did. When I knew that something was wrong, I started backing off on what I was doing publicly, like the Facebook Lives. I took time to really go inside, because it is scary. So I would go inside and say, okay, I know there's something here. And I would pray and I would talk to the angels. And I'm like, just tell me. I just wanted to know. I didn't want to go through that horrible waiting period for the medical people to tell me. I'm like, just tell me what this is. And I knew intuitively that it was not something minor. I knew it was going to have to be dealt with in a huge way. And they did share that, but they also shared that I would make it through, that, it wasn't the end for me. There was still work for me to do here on earth. So I knew that it was huge, but I also knew that I was going to conquer it and get through that time.
What a gift to be able to hear there's a light at the end of the tunnel and you are going to be there for it.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Because then you can totally set your mind on that.
Yes. Right. On what I have to do. Yeah, it's like, okay, now I know that I have to take the steps, and I have to take action. You know, I can't just sit back and say, oh, maybe it'll go away. You know, maybe it will just disappear. And I know, I have heard the stories of people that, you know, the cancer does just go, but that wasn't my case. And I'll just share with you, they shared that as I was doing a meditation with the angels, they shared that I was going through this journey the way I'm going through it because it is needed for me to be able to help and assist other women that are going through this. And that's my mission. That has become my mission through all of what has happened to me, is to really be there and know fully what someone goes through when they have the surgery or when they get the diagnosis. So I understand it on a deeper level, on a level that people that don't experience it would have no clue how devastating it is.
Right, exactly. Camille, what's been your course of treatment and where are you in that process?
I have gotten, so I got to say, if you got to have cancer, this is the kind to have. Weird thing to say, but it's how I feel. I only had 10 radiation treatments that ended mid-June. So about 6-7 weeks ago, those ended. And it was Monday through Friday, weekend off, Monday through Friday. So it was about 2 minutes worth of zap each time. And it was so easy. I would literally fall asleep on the table while the thing was zapping me, my hip. So they did radiation on the left hip to try to get the cancer out of there faster, to help the bone to heal so the fracture would heal and the pain would reduce. Because I had no pain in my lung. I was asymptomatic for cancer until I started noticing weight loss in May of this year. So that's been over, and I'm still recuperating a little bit from that. I think there's still a little bit of fatigue left over from that. And I did not have to do IV chemo. There's oral chemo pills that I take once a day. I started about 3.5 weeks ago and it works in a matter of weeks to reprogram the cancer cells to stop replicating and to die a normal cell death. Cells are normally programmed to die off, and then new cells will make new cells to replace them. Cancer cells don't do that. So these pills reprogram the cancer cells. So I get an X-ray on the 19th, a lung X-ray, and we'll see. I believe the oncologist expects the tumor to be gone. That's where I am in treatment. And the chemo pills, theoretically, I'm to take the rest of my life. We don't know, though, about alternative medicine or about other traditional medical advances, what will happen to actually cure this and alter the genetic mutation. So I have no idea if I'll be taking them forever. We'll see.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Camille, I'm so proud of you for the fight that you've been going through, for taking such good care of yourself, because I know this has been a haul for you. Teri, where are you in the process of the treatment now?
I had a double mastectomy in March, and I was given the choice of just doing the breast that had cancer. However, the right breast, the one that wasn't cancerous, did have some growth. It wasn't cancerous, but there were growths there. And I looked at my doctor and I said, I am never going through this again. You know, I want the double mastectomy because I don't want to have to go through finding another lump and going through all the testing again and the waiting and then, of course, surgery again. Let's do it. Let's get it done and over with. And that was my choice, to do it that way. So that was done in March, and the recovery, well, I'm not even 6 months out from that surgery. So the recovery is a process. There has been a lot of reactions to drugs, to the antibiotic especially that I had to take. And then I had a second surgery to do reconstruction because I chose to do that. Not all women do, but I chose to do that. And so I've had a lot of discomfort through the whole process. Not a lot of real pain, but a lot of discomfort and aches and, you know, all of that. And I had several different types of reactions to some of the drugs that you have to take. So yeah, it's been a journey, but it's like every day I get up and I'm grateful that I'm alive. Just grateful because, it could have been totally different.
Well, and I have to tell you, you're actually radiant as you're talking.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for taking care of yourself, because then the rest of us
Yeah.
can enjoy you that much longer. So thank you.
Yes. Yes, I have work to do for sure. So that's what I do. It's like every day just doing what has to be done, but also what I intuitively know I have to do, the foods to eat. And I was already eating clean. I wasn't having processed foods or, sugar or anything that was going to harm the body. Even when this diagnosis came about, I was already doing that. So I continue to eat as clean as I can, organically, and drinking lots of water, taking care of what needs to be taken care of to make the body as healthy as it can be.
Okay. So Camille, I know that the mindset is a really important part to someone's dealing with cancer. And for a while, and maybe it still is, patients have been told to hate or fight the cancer, to banish it from their body. But that's not what you chose.
Mm-mm.
Can you describe how you decided you needed to interact with cancer?
Yeah. The way I've interacted with things with my body or things in my apparent external world for decades. And thank goodness I had that experience and habit of listening to and talking with, and I'm visual, so I see often in meditation, I'll see what I'm talking to in my body, or what circumstance or habit or behavior or situation I'm interacting with inside myself generally in a meditation landscape. And so I dealt with cancer the same way. It probably helped that it never seemed a death sentence, and that the oncologist never thought never seemed to think this was anything that wasn't manageable. So, gosh, I'm sure that helped my mindset. But what I started doing was talking with the cancer and listening to it. And I was determined to not fight it. And I told it I didn't hate it, that it was only doing what it was programmed to do by my body. It was just following instructions. And I understood that. The problem was that it was hard on my body. And I told the cancer that. I said, it's hard on my body, and I don't want to be hard on my body. So we need to find a different way. And I started realizing that the cancer, if it was working and grinding away, it might be just as tired as I had been at the end of last year, grinding away at business. And I started thinking, and I finally said, one day it just occurred to me, I said to it, hey, are y'all tired? Talking to cancer cells. And they all said yes. And I said, do you want to rest? And they said yes. I said, well, here's how it comes about. And I told them about the chemo pills and about the programmed cell death. And I said, is that okay with you guys? And they said, we're ready to go. And that's how my interaction has been.
So instead of hating yourself, hating that part about you, you embraced it.
I embraced it, and you love it as well as you can. And you go ahead and let yourself be frustrated with what's happening with your body, and keep reminding yourself that your body's just doing what it's programmed to do.
Beautiful, Camille. That is an amazing gift that you just gave so many people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Teri, can you describe how you decided you needed to interact with cancer?
Yes. When I first realized that it was cancer, and that diagnosis hit really hard, I was angry. I was really angry, but not so much. I didn't focus that anger on cancer itself. That was never the focus of any of my energy. It was this whole process was what I was angry about. And I chose to work through the emotional side of it so that I could, as Camille said, embrace it. And when the angels told me that this was a purpose-driven thing that was happening to me, that I was going to come out on the other side, and it was going to be something I would be able to really grow from and use in my experience in working with other people, that made all the difference. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. I can do this. As long as I know that it's worthwhile, I can do anything. So I chose to look at how can I use this to help others instead of focusing on all of that low vibration of, hate and like you said, the fight. It's not a fight, it's a journey. And I looked at it that way. This is a journey. And I looked at it as, this is something that is changing me. So why would I hate it? Why would I hate anything that's going to make me better, that's going to make me more worthwhile in how I work with other people and help other people? And the experience, even though there were times when I would rather not have gone through what I went through, I know that that experience was needed to bring me to where I am right now in this moment. And where I am is stronger. I don't fear anything. I really don't. And I never feared death. Even when the angels told me that it wasn't going to be a death experience, I wasn't afraid of what was going on. What I had was more anger and dread of what I was going to have to go through. So yeah, I don't choose to go to any of the low vibration energy of fighting or struggle. It's just the journey, and it's putting one foot in front of the other, handling one moment at a time. And that's all we can do. You can't look forward, you can't look back. You can just handle the exact moment that you're in right now.
Really wise words there, Teri. I have a question.
Yes.
When you really look at that anger, who were you angry at? And do you think that that anger was really based in fear or resistance to having to go through this? What do you think?
I believe that it was a combination of, just having to go through this again. This was, like I said, my second time with breast cancer. And I was angry that I was going to have to go through all of this experience again, the testing, the waiting, the not knowing. But I also feel like I was angry because I had been doing everything I knew to do to be healthy. I had changed my diet. I had, was staying away from foods that, were told, don't eat this because it can potentially cause cancer growth. So I was doing everything that I knew to do. Well, when I got my diagnosis that day in the doctor's office, I was alone, and I went to the ocean and I sat there and watched the waves crashing in. It was a really windy day, so the waves were coming in hard, and it allowed me to just sit there and cry. And I wanted to scream out, because I was so angry and I wanted to let that anger out. But then I wanted to be angry too, Ruth, if that makes sense. It was like, I know I have to release it. I know I have to get rid of it, but I am angry right now. And I want to be angry at this because I want to get into that emotion of anger to propel me forward. So it wasn't like a negative thing that I was angry. I was using that angry for motivation to make it through this, and to know that I had to do that. I had to be strong to face whatever was coming, and I knew a lot of what was coming. So I went into that anger state, and I did stay there for a while. Every day I was like, I would write about it, I would pray about it, I would tell God, I'm really angry right now. This is pissing me off, and I don't understand it. And this was before my message from the angels. I was like, I don't understand it, but I know I will. But right now, I just want to be angry. And that's what happened. My spirit guides were surrounding me. They were holding me at this whole time. I could feel them there, but it was like they were like standing back and saying, okay, she's really mad right now. So the anger was allowed. And I think that if I had fought it, if I had resisted that anger, it would have been a whole different experience, because I would have stayed in that state of anger and fear and probably have gone into the fight mode. I don't know. But I know that for me, my experience was one of getting there to that emotion, working through it, and then releasing it and going into, okay, now what do we do? What do we do about this?
So, Teri, for somebody who has spent time and energy and years bringing connection to God and the angels into other people's reality, was there any part of you that was angry at God?
Oh yeah, yeah, there was. Um, and I told him that I'm really mad right now. And it was the not understanding why it happened. And I didn't exactly say, why did this happen to me? Or why did you allow this to happen to me? But I just wanted to express that it was confusing. It was confusing of, like you said, I was focused on helping others and healing the planet and bringing peace and joy into lives. And here I am now having to go through this experience. So yeah, I did express the anger, and the anger was allowed. That's the whole thing, Ruth. It wasn't like I heard this big boom and no, you can't be angry. It was like, it was allowed. And I was in that place of, wow, I'm really heard. I'm being heard right now, and I'm being seen. And I know that God and my angels and my guides are with me through this whole experience, and they're letting me experience it just the way it's supposed to happen for me. So it was my own personal journey of going through that fire, is what I call it. When you go through something like this, it's you don't come out the same. You're just really transformed by it. So they allowed the whole process without judgment, without saying you can't, or why don't you look at it this way? There was none of that. It was just a total allowing, and in a loving way, that I knew I was seen and heard and acknowledged.
Neil, how has your spirituality, your understanding of yourself as spirit, supported you through this journey?
I think it, this is the question I didn't know how to answer. The first thing that comes to mind is it so helps to know I'm not just a body. I remember early on, very shortly within the days of the diagnosis, I was just sobbing, and I didn't know why, other than, of course, I was still shocked and frightened, although I had been frightened very little. But I was just terrified of something. And I asked myself, I said, okay, the part of myself that was so terrified, I said, what are you afraid of? And this part of me said, I'm afraid of the side effects of IV chemo because I just understand they're horrible. The side effects are horrible. And you got to remember, I did not have a bunch of cancer symptoms. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel ill. I had a limp. My movement was impaired because I had broken hip bone. But I said to myself, if it's hideous, we're not going to do it to you. We're not going to do it to the body. And I thought, well, that could mean I would die. And I thought, well, we'll try to find another way. It could mean that, and death isn't horrible. And I think it just helps so much to know that I'm a spirit in a body. I don't know why that brings me to tears, except that it's such a relief. I'm very thankful to my upbringing and my mother for her faith and awareness of it. Yeah, because that's where I learned it.
Camille, I know that as a spirit in a body, you aren't alone.
Oh, no. Right. Right. It's all one thing. I mean, some people say we're connected, and we may be, but that presumes separation. And I'm not even sure that separation is true. I have this sense we're all one thing, that there is no separation. So there's no need for connection. It's just all one thing, which also helps a lot because I know even though I live alone and sometimes I feel alone, I'm not. And sometimes I can feel that oneness. It's palpable.
Teri, I've had people say to me, if you are in a loving relationship with God, why does he allow these bad things to happen? And I have said, because it's what I've been shown, that as a human, being a spiritual being, having a physical experience, we do have horrible things that happen in our world and to us. So I don't see God as the energy that says, okay, well, I'm going to save you. You don't have to go through all of this. We do have to endure horrible things in our lives. But I think the difference is we're not going through it alone.
Oh, yes. Yes, you are so right. And that's my mission now, that nobody goes through this alone. You know, that there's always going to be some type of support system. My support system, first of all, was the angels, my spirit guides, and of course, the Creator God. But I also have a huge, huge support system of people that gathered around me and lifted me through the whole journey. You know, things happen. They do. Things happen in these human bodies. My whole life has been a journey of things happening. You know, this isn't my first disease or my first struggle that I've had to endure in this lifetime. But I've always looked at it as not as something bad happening to me, but what am I going through this for? What is the purpose of this? Okay, so where am I going to come out on the other side, and what's it going to look like when I come out on that other side? And can I be a testament for someone who, when you stand strong, you can endure it so much with so much more ease and grace than somebody who goes through it fighting it tooth and nail and resisting the whole way. You know, it's a totally different experience.
So I have to ask you, Teri, here in the room with me, I have beautiful presence of Divine Mother. And she is showing me that she is so connected with you. Can you share with me about your relationship with her?
Oh, yes, yes. It is such a loving relationship. She is actually one of my spirit guides. And so is constantly nurturing. And during that time, remember I told you I went to the ocean and I sat there at the ocean and just cried. And she held me that whole time. I actually felt her arms around me. And I was all alone, so I knew it wasn't a physical presence that was there, but it felt physical, and I could actually feel her holding me. And I have channeled messages from her specifically, where she's just so loving and caring and encouraging me the whole way to look at how can I use this? How can I use this? Because knowing that I'm not alone, knowing that she is holding my hand or she's holding my shoulders as I cry, it makes all the difference in the world. And she is huge with that feminine energy. And I think that's why it was so prominent with her coming forward during this cancer journey, and especially breast cancer. She helped me to understand that, you know, this is not an attack on the femininity, but it does feel like it because it's attacking that part of us that we relate to being a woman. You know, the breasts, they're going to be cut off, they're going to be removed. So there's a huge part of us, well, I'll speak for me, there's a huge part of me that said, wow, you know, that's being taken away from me. And I didn't get as angry about that as I did about, you know, like in the beginning, the whole journey. But there was still anger at that. There was anger that I had to go through that particular surgery, you know, as opposed to a different kind of surgery. So she has been the one that's helped me be strong through it all. She has been my number one support system of this whole journey through the cancer, this time and the time that I had it before. Her presence was all around me. And she's very, not just loving, but it's a gentle loving that helps you look inside. And you no longer look outside, and you no longer look at the physical. You only look at the soul. and the soul journey that you're going through when there's something traumatic that happens. So that's the kind of relationship I have with her. She guides me each step of the way. When there's healing that needs to be done, whether it's myself or I am an energy healer, if I'm helping someone else, I always call on her. She's right there to help with that healing.
Well, and she's also showing me the two of you co-creating together in the future and
Mm-hmm.
the expansiveness of your reach as a result of you walking through this experience with cancer again
Yes.
for the second time. So I know she's got big plans for you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful and it's very exciting.
It really is, and it's already begun. I've already got people that are coming to me that either just found out they have cancer, breast cancer specifically, or there's something wrong and they want to talk about, the process and what to do. That's already happening without me even, saying this is my mission. I have people that are coming to and finding me, but also I am in the process of creating something in writing, and Mother Mary's a big part of that. And it's going to be a co-creation. It won't be something that I'm doing on my own. There will be other cancer survivors, specifically breast cancer survivors, that will be involved in that project as well.
Beautiful. I can't wait. I can't wait to see.
Yes.
Yeah. So Camille, all of us go through times of learning, and clearly through this time of cancer, you are learning great deals about yourself and maybe who you thought you were and who you are. Can you share with us one of your more current learnings on this journey?
Rest is a blessing. Oh my goodness. The ability to rest. And what I've learned very recently, just this year, is that we can actually find areas of rest that we didn't think could be restful, like in our work. And I'm so determined to not grind away at work. Hard work is fine, but there's a way to find restfulness, even if it's just, for example, people who are doing coaching perhaps might find restfulness in when their client is talking. The coach doesn't have to figure out the person's next step or the answer to the person's question. They need to simply listen. So if they can sit back and breathe and relax and listen, that can be very, very restful. And often the client themselves will state what their next thing is or what they need to do. And the coach can mirror that back. But that can be a very restful thing. Sometimes our work can be so process constrained that all we have to do is follow steps and not think, and that alone can be restful. So I'm so determined. Rest has become such a huge part of what I'm doing and what I'm learning to find. I want to help other people find it.
That's so
yeah, and I know it doesn't sound anything like cancer, but that's what it's done for me, because it's required me to rest. It's required me to think of rest in a different way.
And I love, Camille, that you have continued to post on Facebook. And the reason I love that is for two reasons. Number one, you're bringing people along with you on your journey, and you're learning from that. And we get to hold you and love you in spirit while you're going through that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Two, I love that you have been recording for Facebook lying down in bed and allowing us into your inner sanctuary at 2, 3 in the morning as you are processing how you're feeling about this. So thank you
Welcome.
so much for that.
That's been so fun to do. It was so fun to finally let go of the need to worry about proper lighting and makeup and hair. And, here's my requirement. I want my hair to not look too stupid. And I want there to be enough light that you can see me. Those are my requirements. And that's made doing the videos even restful, because it's just become fun. I'm glad. Thank you for telling me your side of it.
Absolutely. So, Teri, can you share with us what some of your latest learnings in your spiritual walk are?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm working right now with very much empowering specifically women, but anyone who wants to be empowered, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, but empowering people through the emotional state and working with becoming more emotionally intelligent, which means just knowing and acknowledging your emotions. Where are they at? Where they're coming from? And helping people through that. I'm doing a workshop the end of this month on emotional intelligence. So that's something that's very huge that I'm working through. And I just became certified as an emotional intelligence practitioner. So that's something that I've taken advantage of my downtime, because during that whole journey through those months, I didn't see clients. I didn't really do anything other than recover. And I kept busy by learning. So that was one of the things I got involved with. I'm already a life coach, but I just added the emotional intelligence part to that. I also have delved into a lot of the Eastern religion practices. Specifically, there's something called Tonlin, and it's just a meditation going inside and just doing a deeper meditation than I've ever done in my life. And I've been doing meditation many, many years and have taught meditation. But the type of meditation that I'm doing now is so much deeper, and it's a beautiful experience. So I've really expanded in many areas, actually, Ruth, where I know that my mission is to help others, and I've been given all these tools that are just falling right into place with what I'm supposed to do.
It's just as if you were on a curriculum or timeline, isn't it?
I know, it is. It is. And I've always said that the angels go ahead of me and prepare everything. I just have to catch up to them. So everything falls into place, and then, okay, there it is. So I don't worry about the how. I don't even think about the how. I just know when they tell me this is something you're going to be doing, I'm like, okay, here we go. I'm strapping in because I know this is going to be a huge journey. So yeah, they really do prepare everything. And all we have to do is say yes. Just say yes.
Wow, what a stunning story. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this all with us, Teri.
Thank you.
So important. So Camille, how can people follow you or contact you?
Oh, through my website, which is my name, CamilleDeSalme.com.
Okay. And you're also on Facebook.
I am on Facebook and under Camille DeSalme, and I might be the only one. I don't know.
Okay. Well, you are one of a kind. I will do that.
Thank you.
Teri, how do people follow you? How can they find you?
Okay, on Facebook, I'm Teri Angel, and you'll see my picture on there with the angel wings. I just changed it. Also on Instagram and Twitter, it's Gratitude Girl, because gratitude is such a huge part of my life. You can email me, Teri@angelspeakers.com. That's all one word. And my website is angelspeakers.com.
Camille, I love you. Thank you so, so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Ruth, for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Great. Teri, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate you.
Thank you.